Welcome back to Game of Inches. I'm now joined by three superstars of the past from Wake Forest University. How's it going, guys?
It's good.
Pretty good.
Glad to be here.
Well, let's do some introductions real quick. Rich Habegger, one of my best friends, older best friends. I've been coaching with him over there at East Forsyth for the past, 3 years now? And Rich, he's played from 1969 to 1972. So here's a picture of you. That was before you guys were allowed to dunk in NCAA. So. We'll get into more with you. So next we have an ACC All-American whose jersey number is retired in the rafters of Wake Forest, number 15, Skip Brown. He played with the Deeks in 1973 to 1977, so 1 year after you. I thought that was pretty funny when I was looking up your guys' years. You're one after the other. And we got a picture, I think Habegger sent it to us, with you and Phil Ford, so we'll get into who you guys played. And then last we have Guy Morgan. He played for Wake between 1978 and 1982, and then was drafted by the Indiana Pacers. So we got a picture of you up here. Which one is you in this 1980 picture?
I'm located in the middle.
There we go.
He's the good-looking one.
The best-looking one? No, you're the best. Can we get that first graphic up here? I think Skip is the best-looking one with the afro on the media guide. I think he is definitely the best one. But I really appreciate all three of you guys being here, and we'll get right into the questions. Now, first of all, how in the world did you three get to know each other since you were a year behind each other? How did you guys become such? Because I know you would talk to Guy at Wake Forest games, and you would talk to me about Skip.
Yeah, well, Guy came to work with us at RJ Reynolds Tobacco. So he was looking for a job. He was working in the community, and we ended up interviewing him and hiring him. So he came down and worked with us for, I don't know, a number of years. Probably 10 or 12 years with us, working down there. So that's where we come from. And Skip was at Wake after I was there, and I still hung around Wake some, and Skip stayed here, and then we ended up going to the same church. And Skip coached the high school team. I coached the middle school team. So we would see each other at practices and stuff like that in the church, and then around town. So.
Awesome. Now here's a question for all three of y'all. So during your Wake Forest basketball career, I know you went professional. So we'll start with Skip. What was your best memory with the D? Because I know the ACC tournament back in that day, that was bigger than the NCAA tournament itself. Right. So what's one of your best memories?
Well, the ACC tournament was always a great time, great memory. Unfortunately, we didn't play quite as well in the tournament as we did during the regular season. So some of my best memories centered around the Big Four tournament, which was the four North Carolina schools. Every year we'd have that tournament in December, and we won that tournament 3 straight years. So that was a highlight. And then beating North Carolina in Chapel Hill when I was a senior after being down 15 points. And they went to their celebrated four corners offense, and we came back and won by 5 or 6 points. So
wow,
down there in Chapel Hill. So that was a great memory.
Amazing. What about you, Rich?
Well, mine is probably the same similar to Skip's. My sophomore season, I wasn't playing much, but I was on the team. And we beat Carolina 2 in a row. We beat them at Carmichael first. We were down 11 at halftime, came back and won. And then they came to Winston, another tight game. There was a controversial call toward the end of the game. Coach Smith got up and went to the referee, and the referee went, teed him up. Anyway, we ended up winning that game. Then the next year, I was playing. I was starting the next year, my junior year. And Carolina came to Winston for the first game, and we beat them by 12. So we beat them 3 in a row. But then the next game, we went to Chapel Hill, and we lost by 18, I think.
So that was your senior season where you lost by 18?
No, that was still my junior year. We played them twice a year.
So we got a pattern with favorite memory. Do we have the same beating North Carolina?
Well, I guess I could dabble on the Carolina train a little bit. I guess one fond memory was my senior year in '82. That was the year that North Carolina won the national championship. Mm-hmm. And I guess our claim to fame that year was that we were one of 2 schools that beat North Carolina that year. And we beat them at Carmichael.
Wow.
So that was a big feat. But back to Skip's point, I was blessed to play in the last Final Four tournament. And we won that so Wake has won the most Big Four tournaments among the 4 schools. So
that's awesome between the 3 of you guys. But that's amazing that you guys all wiped out North Carolina at some point, because that's something that's tough for Wake to do as of now. Yep. But going back to when you're talking about you guys lost in the ACC tournament, what's the toughest player that you've faced? So we'll start with you, Skip, and then we'll come back to them. Toughest player during your time. I know Phil Ford was up there.
Phil Ford was, yeah, he was a great player. I would say it's probably a tie, maybe between John Lucas, who played at Maryland, and Phil Ford, who played at North Carolina. Both were great players. I had the good fortune to be good friends with both of them and played a lot of summer league games with them and learned a lot from them both. And, you know, the three of us, we were the all-conference guards for the times that we were in school. So we were kind of the 2 or 3 best guards in the conference for the 4 years that we were in school. So, you know, hopefully they would say that I was the toughest player they had to play against. Because they were definitely the toughest, 2 toughest I had to play.
So you're definitely getting into them during those games.
Oh, yeah.
What about you, Rich?
You got to play against David Thompson too, didn't you?
I did.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So it's a lot of good. But we got a lot from you too. So who's the best one that you
probably,
have to guess?
I would say that, well, I played against 2 that I can really focus on. One was Artis Gilmore. Artis played junior college at Gardner-Webb. So my freshman year, when we had a freshman team, we actually played them twice, once down there and once here in Winston. And we beat them in the game at Winston. And then my junior year, he was at Jacksonville. And their team went to the Final Four that year, and we played them in the Gulf Coast Classic Christmas tournament, and we beat them down in that tournament. So that was probably a highlight also. And then that picture right there, you can't see him in the picture, but Robert McAdoo's standing just off to my left there, and played against him 3 times, which during the only season he was at Carolina, he was pretty tough.
I like it. Yeah. Speaking of the pictures, before we get to Guy, man, I had to go through Steve Shutt over there at Wake to get just a picture of like Skip on the other one, but I got this one off of like the media guide of the 1977. But yeah, you guys were tough to find. Yeah. Steve Shutt wasn't going to let me get a lot of that stuff. But what about you? Best player?
That's really tough. You can go down the list. James Worthy was at North Carolina when I was in school. You had Buck Williams and Albert King at Maryland. Larry Nance was not too shabby down at Clemson. Also, Gene Banks, and the list goes on. Not to mention, Ralph Sampson was at University of Virginia, so there were quite a few challenges.
As a matter of fact, I think that's one of the other games that I met Guy at, because I think Ralph was at that Wake, Virginia game. I think it was like the first year I started getting to know Rich. And I think you pointed him out to me. And I think that's when I first noticed Guy. You said Guy used to play with him. And I looked at Ralph. Well, first I looked at Guy and I was like, man, he's tall. And then I looked at Ralph and I was like, well, he's definitely taller.
Yeah.
Now, going back to this new Wake Forest team, they just came off a big win against Illinois. They kind of started the season a little rough. But from your aspect, we can start. We'll come back to you. We'll say, what's one thing that you would give, like some advice to the guys to get back on that streak that they kind of had last season? They really killed it last season with John Collins, but what kind of advice would you give them?
I would say you just have to have confidence in yourself. You have to follow the directions that the Coach Manning is giving you, and just work hard and just try to execute.
For sure.
I can only, back in the day when I played, my freshman year started 4 freshmen. And so we took some licks, but you just have to learn. You just have to keep digging, and it'll come. It'll come. You got to be patient and just work hard.
What do you think, Rich? Me and you have season tickets beside each other, so I know your opinion of a lot of the guys.
I just think that Skip and I were talking on the way over here tonight. I think that Wake in the Illinois game really showed some improvement from what I'd seen early in the season. They played a lot harder on defense. The zone that they used and utilized that game was pretty effective, I thought. We need to improve our rebounding. And I think at certain times, some of our guys try to go and do too much on their own instead of playing within the framework of the team. But I really like like playing 2 big guys in there together, Moore and Sarr together. I like that. Looked good. So I think we're going to see some continued improvement. And Skip watches these guys practice a lot, so he's giving me some inside tips.
You guys were talking
I'm
about
optimistic.
Before we went live. What do you think of Skip?
Well, we've got a lot of really good shooters. I think we're a very perimeter-oriented team. So that's a change from last year, and so I think the team is making that adjustment from being a inside-out team to a perimeter-oriented team where we're starting 4 guards and a center. And when you're making the shots, that works really well. When you're missing a few shots, you don't rebound as well, and you've got to play better defense. So my advice to them would be to understand it's a long season, try to really hunker down and make sure that your defense is solid night in and night out, because there will be nights when the shots are not falling, and you need your defense to kind of keep you in the game until you can start making some shots. But I think overall we're going to be okay. We're not as young a team as we used to be, so we've got some experience now. So I think the experience is going to take over, and if we can get our defense back on track, I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah, and Danny, he's definitely done a great job at recruiting. He's gotten a lot of these guys. I know me and you were talking the other night, but Clinton kind of left because he's wanting these young guys to come in, and we've seen a lot of them do really well, like Shondy Brown. That's one of your favorites. So Danny Manning has definitely done a great job with getting the recruits there, so I hope he stays at Wake for a couple more years. I think you guys would agree. Now, thank you guys for coming on. It's been a blast. And when we return, Rich Habegger, he's going to be joining us at the desk for our Week 14 predictions. So stay with us or click on that next video if you're on YouTube. Thank you.